So I recently took my dad to watch Challengers. Hello beautiful people, how's it going? I'm back with another video, and today we're going to be reviewing Challengers starring Zendaya, Mike Faced, and Josh O'Connor. I know my choice of movie buddy this time is a little weird, but my dad is really into tennis and I'm really into Zendaya because I think she's a great actress and I see a really bright future ahead of her. And the first thing I'd like to say is Zendaya is a phenomenal actress, and this film proves that because we get to see Zendaya in a role that is so strangely vile and evil, and it's really lovely to see. So Zendaya plays this character called Tashi, who is an aspiring tennis champion, and she's really got a lot going for her. In the midst of her journey, she runs into these two boys, and the three of them create this chaotic kind of love triangle, which isn't presented the way a lot of these teen films do, even though I don't consider this a teen film. It presents a love triangle in a really strange and chaotic way where they are each individually terrible people, some more than others, but you get to see their connection in a romantic sense, but also in a tennis sense, which is really strange to say. And the film essentially is trying to give you a reflection on what the game of tennis actually is by showing you these people's stories through this love triangle. The love triangle and the sports aspect of the films are really intertwined. And I think that's one of the aspects that I really commend the film on. I think it's really positive in the fact that you actually understand that tennis, to quote the film, is like a relationship between two people. And of course, when there's a third party involved, things get really messy and emotions get really riled up. And my goodness, do every single one of these actors give an unbelievable performance. Now, I've never seen Mike Feist or Face in any other role. I know that he's in the latest rendition of West Side Story, but I haven't actually watched that film. And Josh O'Connor, I've only seen him in The Crown as a young Prince Charles, and he did wonderful in that film. But I totally forgot about Prince Charles when I was watching his performance in this movie. He is by far the most interesting character in the film, not to mention probably the most devious and horrendous out of the three. He was the one that I hated the most. I don't know, Tashi's up there too. But nevertheless, all three actors give an unbelievable performance. And I also will say the film is really cleverly written in the sense that there's an example of Chekhov's gun, which is maybe the best example that I've ever seen portrayed in a film. That being said, however, both me and my dad had a lot of issues with this film, which is why I wanted to make this review, because I want to be as positive as possible because I really love the people working on the film, but I think as a finished product, there was a glaring issue that me and my dad really felt, and that was the way the director chose to portray the narrative of this movie. Over the past couple of years, we've seen all of these films and TV shows do the trope where they constantly go back and forth in time, and sometimes it works really well for the film's narrative. Here, it doesn't work well because it gets done once every 5 minutes. I would go watch this movie again just so I can time how often it goes back and forth in time. And the issue with this film is it doesn't just go back and forth in time between two timelines. It goes back in time between 5 different ones. So you'd be watching a scene and then it would say 3 years earlier. And then it would jump to the night after that flashback, and then it would jump back into the present. And then it might go 5 years later, and then say the week before that. It's ridiculous the way this narrative was chosen. And I genuinely believe, watching this film, that the producers of this film had this film lined up, they were test screening, and someone might have said, it's a little boring in the middle. And so someone thought of the genius idea to go, you know what, we're just going to play with the narrative back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And anybody saying that, oh, the narrative is actually a metaphor for a tennis ball because it goes back and forth, please stop. I really do believe that the film is trying to say something, and I think the way it's written is really clever. There are a lot of metaphors in it, but that to me is going too far to the detriment of your film. It really is confusing, and it makes the film a lot more indigestible because you spend a lot of time wondering, did this happen before this or did that happen before that? And it just makes it really messy. One thing that me and my dad did disagree on, however, is the choice of music. He really didn't like it. He is the tennis player, so I think there's some merit to his words. But I, personally, really enjoyed the choice of music in this film. It's techno, it's electronic, and the great thing about it is it plays in every intense scene, and that doesn't just include the tennis matches. When characters are fighting, the music gets louder and louder and louder as if they are playing a tennis match, which is something that I actually learned a couple of years ago, not to play tennis when you're arguing with someone. If you say, you did this, and they reply with, okay, well, you did this, then you're not really solving anything. And I think that was a metaphor that I really enjoyed in the film, and I like the choice of music for that because it shows you that not every point is a tennis point when you're dealing with a love triangle and when you're dealing with romance that is intertwined in sport, in your career. What happens when the person you love, you possibly only love because of their career or because what you can get out of them to forward your career? The entire thing is really messed up, which also leads me to my next point, that this movie is about three terrible people. It's kind of like Succession. I love Succession, but I recognize that all of the protagonists in that show and in this film are horrible people. People that you shouldn't aspire to be. People that don't really have any redeeming qualities, especially Zendaya's Tashi. I truly believe that she doesn't have any redeeming qualities because, you know, they're the kind of people that claim they're about something, but then do something completely opposite. And I find it really interesting that a film in today's standards, you know, being released worldwide for everybody to see, has no lead protagonist that is empathetic. And if you do think Zendaya's character is empathetic, then that's fine. But I do question your morality. You guys know I have a cheating problem. I always have, and I always will. It was tricky, but this is one of the films where I could watch it and not mind because the film wasn't trying to make you feel bad for the person cheating. It then leads me to another point that I kind of didn't like. The film brings up a lot of really great ideas. What happens when a person who bases their entire life on a career loses that career? What do they do then? What happens when a person has tried all they can and is now washed up? What happens when a person is succeeding really well but doesn't feel passion for their sport anymore? These are all really great ideas, but I feel that the film doesn't actually do anything with them. It just presents an idea and then moves on, which then leads me to the ending of the film. If you guys want closure, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the film doesn't really provide any. It leaves off on a very open-ended note, a really great scene, but it is open-ended. And while the film spends the entire duration building up to that, you don't actually see the payoff. And if you haven't seen the film and you're trying to go see that, I recommend that you take this advice. There will not be any payoff. Because that was something that my dad really did not enjoy about this film. Now, if anyone has seen Challengers, I dedicate the comment section to any and all spoilers. I want it to be open because I do want to discuss spoilers with you. What do you guys think is the interpretation of the ending of the film? Who do you guys think came out on top? That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm really interested to know, what are you guys' interpretation on what this film is trying to say about love and sport, especially tennis? I really want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. I love you all, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.